avoiding things. I just realized I was doing it and thought I'd make a video about it. Why do we do this? Some things that impact this are that people with ADHD, most research suggests that we have... Guys, look at the squirrel out my window. He's looking right in it.
All right, so why do people with ADHD avoid things? First and foremost, let's break down what ADHD is. This is a condition that makes it hard for you to regulate your mood, and it makes it hard for you to regulate your attention. So when this is the case, when this is the brain that you have, like my brain, all right, it's going to make it hard for you to do things that are boring. Paying your taxes, showing up to work on time, doing that spreadsheet, getting the trash out. Things that don't stimulate us and things that don't naturally excite us become very difficult to do. But when these are things like going to the DMV or making a doctor's appointment and you can't get them done, then things pile up and it becomes frustrating for you. So that's why I say with ADHD, it's important to eliminate shame and implement a system. And then you'll be on your way. A lot of folks don't know this, but stemming is something that anybody can do. And I believe that everybody stems in some way, shape, or form. But with neurodivergent people, and yes, people with ADHD can also stem. It's not just specific to autism. I believe that with neurodivergent people, the stemming is much more frequent. And it's also in places where it's not socially acceptable. That's where the shame comes from. So if you're at home and you're vibing out and nobody's there and you're like, oh, hey, Arnold, and you're beatboxing, you're rapping, you're flapping your arms, who's going to check you? But when you're at school or when you're at the dance or when you're at somebody's, a new friend's house and you're like, oh, hey, Arnold, and you're flapping your arms and you're having a good time, the stares you get from other people make you not like yourself. But in all actuality, there was nothing ever wrong with you.
All right, babe, I'm getting the trash out and clean up. Can you mind grabbing the dishes if you have some time?
I was just about to.
Okay. Didn't know that.
No, I don't really want to.
If you're autistic, I think it's very helpful to understand that autism means that the way that you communicate with the world is different from how a neurotypical person would most likely communicate with the world. And when there's breakdowns in communication, what happens? You get frustration, you get irritability, you get anxiety, you get agitation. And this is what leads to the fights and the meltdowns, right? So if you're somebody who's dating an autistic person, I think it's helpful to understand that because they communicate with the world in different ways, there's a good chance that they're going to be misunderstood. And more importantly, they're probably going to feel like they have a loss of autonomy, that they don't control themselves or they don't feel like they're in control of a lot of things. So the way you say things and the way you phrase things is extremely important.
People who have autism and ADHD often engage in something called masking, which is essentially cosplaying as a neurotypical. They suppress their natural emotions and behaviors to seem like everybody else.
Can you mask for so long that you forget who you are? Before I answer this question, let's just all recognize that masking is a survival tactic. As neurodivergent people, we have to do this to make friends, to be able to date people, to get invited to birthday parties. And we spend so much time putting effort into the versions of ourselves that we put out there that we actually don't know who we are, in my opinion. So instead of forgetting who we are, I think it's more so that we don't know who we really are and we find these things out later in life. But by the time we realize who we are, we've already taken jobs that don't represent who we are. We've gotten into relationships and picked up all that trauma, and these relationships don't represent who we are. The people that we're around, our friends, are they really our friends? So as you unmask, you gotta be kind to yourself. So what is masking and why does this often lead to autistic burnout? So you can use this for any neurodivergent person, including those with ADHD, but let's just talk about autistic burnout for a second. So masking is something that you do to fit in with everybody else, neurotypical people. This is what allows you to often have friends. This is what allows you to be relatable to people. And this is what allows you to, not feel like the oddball out. So when you're masking, whether you're like laughing at jokes that aren't funny or whether you program yourself to keep up a smile, even though nothing is funny, this takes a lot of energy out of you. So that neurotypical person who's going through life and, they're doing all these things, it's not taking a lot of energy out of them. But as an autistic person, when you're masking constantly, you're going to get tired. And at some point, you're like, all right, I just need some time to myself because this is too much.